So would you consider yourself to be a submissive wife?
I would consider myself to be partly submissive wife. So the real is Mr. Life married a modern woman. And so why I would say I would be partly submissive is because outside of the household, outside of us being together, I'm not really submissive to anybody, right? Mm-hmm. I'm very much a boss. I appear to have a lot of confidence. And when I come into the house, I have to turn that off. And it doesn't always turn off as quickly as it should. That's why I said I will own partly.
But can you really turn it off, or is it something that's naturally innate in you?
I think it's not a matter of completely turning it off, but I think it is a matter of suppressing it. And that's something that can be learned.
One of my favorite couples, Pastor Life and his wife, he brags about her all the time. But one thing I like about their channel is they try to get down into what the truth is, because the truth is where you help people. All this fantasy and rhetoric doesn't help folks. A lot of people think it does. They want to be on this campaign of motivational speaking, or so-called speaking life into people, instead of getting down to nuts and bolts and telling what the actual truth of the matter is, which is what I believe in. And you can see in this post, in this short, and there's actually a longer version that I may react to, because I think it's important. I think it's important not only for the men, but also for the women, is that the way the women are trained nowadays, I think from Gen X on, they're what we call modern women. They're actually feminist trained. They're trained to be independent. They're trained to be bosses. They're trained to be so-called partners, right? Which is in another clip you can hear that Pastor doesn't allow the P word in his relationship, right? Partner. They believe in roles. They believe in gender roles. But this particular clip is about submission, and how does a modern woman go about submission? And in this clip, you can see that she probably succeeds because it's a daily battle. And where most modern women fall apart. Like what she's saying is 100% true. You cannot turn off your training, right? You cannot. You got two choices: either retrain to where the habit becomes natural, because you're never going to completely feel it, because it was never put into you. You cannot change the BIOS. So to change the BIOS or adapt for the BIOS, the software has to be running. You have to change the software on top of it, right? And this is what she's decided to do. And she's telling you thoroughly that she's a modern woman. When she's outside the home, she does what she's trained to do. She's in charge. She's a boss. She's not submissive. She's aggressive. She's all that kind of stuff outside, right? When she comes back into her marriage, back to the home, she has to suppress it. She can't turn it off. Sometimes it doesn't work. And she can't turn it off immediately or suppress it immediately. She has to willfully, consciously, on a daily basis, suppress that urge to be that modern woman and be the boss and be in charge, buck back instead of cooperate. And get it, man, most black men are not talking about on your knees, do the housework, shut up, don't say anything. 90% of black men are talking about that. They're talking about not trying to compete with their man, not trying to lord over their man for supremacy of the household, which is, you find that in a lot of modern women, not just black, but modern women, period. And that has to be suppressed, because that submission, as we think of a wife in submission, was never put in you. So the best a black man with a modern woman can hope for is cooperation. And if cooperation is done well, it can actually work. Because black men were trained to serve in this community. They're trained to, I wouldn't say submit, but trained to do, protect, provide, unconsciously for the black woman. Black men know that they're a resource. We're brought up to realize what we are. And all black men need is a hint of cooperation to make things work. We're taught that no matter what, who does what, or what job has to be done, the way we're taught in the black society and the black family is to do whatever it takes to make the family work. In other words, basic cooperation. And what modern black women are taught is not to cooperate. Modern black women are taught to extract the maximum amount that you can get out of a man. And if you don't get the maximum amount of that you think that you earned, that you are owed, then you're going to cause problems and probably disintegrate the marriage. And that's why most modern women, especially modern black women, are not married. Or even if they do get married, the average black marriage only stays together for 5 years. The divorce rate in the black family is 80%. 80%. And that's with a 30% marriage rate. We're not talking about 100% in marriage rate. We're talking about 30% marriage rate. So even though only 30% of people are married, the divorce rate is 80%. You can tell by the out of wedlock births. Modern black women do not want to submit or cooperate, which is why they would rather have children that they can dominate and tell what to do and be in charge of, rather than finding a man to help them raise the family. Children were not built to be raised alone. You have to have a very big clan of people where men are involved, or you're going to have a father. And modern women have been told that they don't need either, especially modern black women. Black women have always thought that a family is a woman and her children, and the men were just additions to. For a lot of reasons. Most of it that a black man's life was expendable. Pressures on the family as far as jobs and job functions made him a liability to her, so she would get rid of him. And that goes all the way back to Boyce in Philadelphia. So as far as black women were concerned, they were taught that if you find a black man that can help you, you take him on. If you can't, then you have to do it by yourself. And if he becomes a burden, or he can't do what you want, or he doesn't fit in, you toss him and try to get another one. And that worked until black men said, you know what, I don't want to be a resource. I don't want to be used. I don't want to be an appendage. I don't want to be within a system where I get nothing out of it. That's what you see. But I just wanted to highlight, because this was actually a woman telling the truth, that she's a modern woman, and submission does not come naturally to her because it's never been taught, and she has to consciously turn it off, turn the boss bay off, consciously learn how to listen and cooperate. And she said that's not always easy, and that's not always possible, and how it's a struggle. And do most black women want to take that struggle on? I can say most don't, which is why the community and marriage, black marriage, is in the state that it's in. White women understand it. Black women, even though they understand it, they don't want to do it. As you heard, those 12-year-olds that the teacher interviewed just blew his noodle, said so. Black men are actually a resource or an appendage, where they're taught. Anyhow, that's all I got for this one. This is BGS out, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.